Hello, everybody, and welcome to our midweek live show. So, hope this finds you well wherever you are, and whichever platform you're watching this one on. As you know, we multi-stream this across the tech universe, or more or less across the tech universe, anyway. So, it's always interesting for me to know where you're watching this on. I guess a lot of people watch this on the Twitters, but I see just like that, our good friend Chris Davies is in the YouTube because Chris, for laughs, I've decided to put a few things out on YouTube before the inevitable cancellation comes, or a strike, or whatever they call it. But anyway, hope you're all having a good week. I mean, I'm sure you're having a better week than Paula Venel's CBE has had. We're going to talk about the post office. We're going to talk about all of that. You're probably having a better week than Howard Stern. I put a podcast out about Howard Stern, the US shock jock. Don't know if you heard it, but it did entertain me doing it, actually. I hope it entertained you listening to it. But Howard Stern, who's, I don't know how many jabs he's had. He's had a lot of jabs, but remember, they are straight and effective, Chris Davies, and don't you say anything different. But apparently, despite getting the jabs, he keeps getting COVID. Yeah. So that Howard Stern, listen to the podcast. The podcast sorts it out. Hello again, Laura. Good to see you. Thanks for being here this evening. And we have a load of stuff that we're going to get through tonight, hopefully. And I hope you'll find it all interesting, because, as I say, there's so much. There's never a shortage of news. There never is. And my job is to try and filter out the bits that are probably completely irrelevant and talk about the bits that are hopefully more interesting and relevant. And hopefully I get the mix right. But if I don't, you folks can tell me and let me know. And suffice to say, everyone who's listening to this, do make sure you subscribe to the old podcast channel. Want to make sure we grow the podcast channel more in 2024 than even in 2023, because it's a new year and all of that. So, listen, before we get going, of course, we need to remember our very helpful sponsor, who should be coming up down below. Here we go. Quantum Hypno, my friend Sarah Jane Smith. Quantum Hypno, and she's got a new ad. This is the new Quantum Hypno ad. I want to play this. Tell me what you think of it. But this is her brand new ad. So let's sit back for 60 seconds and find out all about Sarah's services. Go.
Quantum Hypno is a transformative approach that connects with the superconscious through the power of hypnosis. I take the time to get to know you and create a relaxed setting where you can share your life story. There's no rush or time pressure involved. During the hypnosis session, you'll experience a natural and profound connection with the superconscious, accessing healing, wisdom, and the answers that you've been seeking throughout your life. Envision the ability to travel through time and space, recovering lost knowledge and exploring the universe. This life-changing work has already helped thousands of people dealing with addictions, trauma, or a sense of being lost, enabling them to move forward in the right direction. I've worked with people from all walks of life, so what are you waiting for?
So there you go. That's her new ad, and there is a joke in that one, by the way. I'm sure you probably were able to work it out. So she has a good sense of humor. I can attest to that. So do click Quantum Hypno and visit her site. That helps me. That helps keep all of this going, basically. So and don't forget, we do have our friends as well over at Just Stop T-shirts. There's a link to them as well. You can get your own logo, whatever you want. Just Stop David Vance. You could get that in a T-shirt if you wanted. but I'm sure there's lots of other things you'd want to stop before that. So we have those folks anyway are helpful to us. And here in the alternative media, friends, I know we say this all the time, but it is important. We have to stick together because they are out to get us. Now, this is a Wednesday night, and we have our live podcast stream tomorrow night, so don't forget about that. Tune in 8 p.m. tomorrow night when I'm joined by Jed, by Adrian, by Patty, and by a host of other people. Amos says he rarely listens to politics these days. Quite right. Listen to me instead. Far more entertaining, and at least you get a perspective that is not just slavishly following the mainstream. And if you like what you're hearing, like it, share it, and let's build this thing together. And don't forget, if you want to make a small contribution to the platform, davidvance.net. Go over there, buy me a coffee if you fancy. In fact, actually, I'm having one. I'm literally having a coffee right now. If I'm going to get through the next 60 minutes. Now, Wednesday night, I'm joined, of course, by my compatriot in these matters, Jed. So Jed's going to be coming on in a sec. But I just want to make everyone really clear in the fact that there will be confirmation, a new live event happening on the 1st of March. So not that long to go, folks. It's going to be happening in London, and I will reveal all in terms of who the guests are, etc., very, very shortly in the next day or so. But it's going to be a cracker. It's going to be really, really good. And I hope you just make sure you put 1st of March, London in your diary, and I'll tell you all about what's happening then. But we had such a good bunch of folks who turned up the last time, and this is going to be everybody's good. And as I say, two very interesting characters are going to be joining Peter Michael Venna and myself on stage. So 1st of March, ring it in your diary. I'm going to see you in London then. Garram says, can't get in on Podbean. Don't understand that. Maybe Garram, if you talk to Jed about that. That would be good. Chris Davey says, did you see the Brett Weinstein and Tucker? Is that Cat Turd? Is that who Brett Weinstein is, Chris? Because I try to watch as much as I can, but eventually my brain overloads, and I do miss the odd thing. But I'm trying to catch up. I try to keep on top of as much as I can. Stay on top of all the agendas and then put your own twist on it. So that's the date anyway. 1st of March, you're going to have to be there in London as we grow and we have live conversations and we do what we should be doing anyway. It's healthy human beings getting together. And actually, Jed, you can come in this one because Gallo Gal says you sounded like Frank Carson then, David. It's the way I tell them. And someone said to me the other day, Gallo Gal, we're talking about, you got this accent. And I'm going, what accent? What accent are you talking about? Okay, Chris, no, I haven't seen that one yet. I haven't seen that with Tucker, but I will because I ultimately watch all his stuff. So yeah, Jed, just to sort of say that, we did have great fun at the event in December, and now there's another confirmed event on the 1st of March. And you can attest that the jollity just wasn't in the venue, which will be the same venue, but we'll reveal that closer to the time. But there is a nearby pub.
There certainly is. Good evening and Happy New Year to every single one of you. And thank you for coming along as you do every single time we go live. But yes, David, there's a nice little pub just around the corner. Now, what I will say is, I thought the food in that little pub was expensive, but it is London Stan. So what do you expect? But it serves a really good pint, really good atmosphere, and it's literally no further than what I can spit to the venue. So you get nice and warmed up with a couple of beers before we go in. We do the gig, and then we all back to the pub for a good chat and a few bevies. I know who the guests are, guys. I can't reveal, obviously. They are fantastic. You are going to be blown away. So don't miss out this time.
1st of March. Yeah.
Get in early. Get a nice little room in London. You can find a few little small ones not far from the venue. Please join us. We'd love to see you all.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all the advertising done. So look, folks, the biggest story, Jed, in the last several days, I suppose, it's a rolling story, and it's to do with the post office scandal. And for American friends who mightn't just be completely up to date, basically, a Japanese company called Fujitsu wrote, in fact, Jed, you probably can explain this better than I. They wrote a software program called Horizon for the post office. And
it was a financial piece of software so they could put their ins and outs in, their expenditure, the receives and pays and all that. But it was fundamentally flawed.
Yeah, it was.
No surprise, really.
Well, except that, of course, it cost a lot of money. And probably more than that, what it did was it basically criminalized 700 or so sub-post office owners, these folks. And this has been dramatized by ITV in a docudrama called Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. And so these folks some of them were criminalized. Others were, punished financially. It ended up with some people actually committing suicide as a consequence of the strain of it all. And this was on our TV screens for the last week or so. I've watched it. Have you watched all 4 episodes, Jed?
No, I haven't. Because what I want to do is watch it as a full set, if you see what I mean, back to back, so I can get the whole picture and the whole wrong phraseology, but I can't think of anything else. But the whole ambience of it. But I've known about it for some years.
Yeah.
I won't say in a past life I may have worked for one of those companies that are involved, but that's why it doesn't surprise me. And it doesn't surprise me. It was no, in no way can it be our software. Yeah. And all along it was. I'm not saying with that particular company, but I've dealt with some dodgy software that has been sold to major clients.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, in this case, as you said, it was financial software, and the purpose of it was essentially, as you say, money in, money out. But the problem is that it was fundamentally defective, and so it was suggesting that these little sub-post offices had received more money in than they could account for. Therefore, they were taken to court, and they had. They were then punished for it, and some of them lost their businesses, some of them lost their livelihood, some of them lost their lives, and it's been documented. And the thing about it is, I can't remember when we've had a TV program like this that's gone quite as big, because we've obviously had Paula Venables, who was the chief executive officer of the post office, who got her CBE in honor. And she's volunteered to hand her honor back. So she is the scapegoat because she was in charge of the post office. But Jed, I'm asking questions. For example, John, is 3.7 billion they've paid to Fujitsu, by the way. Well, we'll talk about that as well, because this is where fascism comes into place. But Paula Venables, she kind of carried the can, but I'm saying, well, hang on, Fujitsu, surely they should be carrying the can as well. And what about the fact that Paula Venables may have run the post office, but the post office, Jed, was part of Royal Mail, and a guy called Adam Crozier was the CEO of Royal Mail. And people are trying to tell me, oh yeah, but there's no way he would have known what was going on in the post office. Well, hang on a second. Well, if he didn't, he should. Well, that needs questions asked, and if he did, that needs questions asked, because you can't be the CEO of a large corporation and say, "Oh yeah, there's one part of it that I knew nothing about, which just happens to be the dodgy bit." So, Laura, look at how they did the movie in Rotherham. It's really responsible, Jed. It's not one person runs the post office. It wasn't just this one woman, although she was bad. I'd like to see her in prison. But it was a board. There was, and there was people in Fujitsu. And I think there was Adam Crozier and his cronies in the Royal Mail. I think there was Ed Davey, who at that time was the post office minister. And he did nothing to help these people. So my argument is, none of these ones were remotely interested in these ordinary folk, ordinary, sort of pillars of the local community who were, if you'll pardon the pun, pilloried and financially devastated for 20 years or thereabouts.
But the point is, though, David, none of the powers that be, and I agree with every single name you've mentioned there, they all need to be punished for their part in this. But none of them, none of the brass, none of the management ever thought we have never had accounting issues like this till this software. And never put 2 and 2 together and went, maybe it is the software, maybe we have to look at it.
Yeah.
It was easier to point the finger and sack and hound and harass and criminalize hard-working postmasters and postmistresses across the country. Over 700 of you have mentioned.
Yeah, that's right.
Some that have died, some that have committed suicide, some that have lost their homes, families, friends, every single thing that they have. They can never work again because their names are tarnished. The thing is, isn't it amazing that we've known about this for 2 decades? And what it actually takes to get some action is a TV program. The ministers knew about it. Davis knew about it. Every single MP knew about it. Andrew Bridgen was talking about it years and years ago.
Right. Yep.
Yet again, when he talks the truth, people ignore. And the bottom line is there are so many heads that should roll for this, because it's not the fact that the software was faulty. It's the fact that it was faulty. They knew it was faulty, but still criminalized the innocent.
Yeah, people. That's right. Yeah, that's actually that is the core point, Jed. It's not just that there was faulty software, because everybody listening to this knows that you can get faulty software. It happens. I mean, that's just the way of the world. But it was the fact that they covered it up. They knew there was a problem, and they still let these people swing in the breeze financially. They took their livelihood from them. They took their jobs from them. They buried them in financial misery. And then, yes, then it is very goading when the person in charge of it, Paula Fennells, gets a CBE. I mean, that is rubbing.
Yeah, but what about Sir Ed Davies?
So, yeah.
He needs to, and his back. He needs to resign from leader of the, what party is it? I can't remember.
Well, Lib Dems.
Yeah, David, I was joking.
Yeah,
I was joking because nobody really knows what the Lib Dems are, because they're not democratic and they're not liberal either.
No, but that's like
bottom line is,
Oh,
I'm being told by Deplorable Deb on Getter to stop talking with my mouth full. Right, I've been told off there, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to have some mixed nuts and fruit left over from Christmas. So I've been caught out by Deplorable Debs. I'm sorry, I will stop eating.
Yeah. Can I just congratulate Deplorable Debs on her acute hearing? And you see, the thing is, you can see if I'm drinking my coffee or not, right? You can't see what Jed's up to. And therefore,
I could be naked, Deplorable Debs.
If he's munching away on fruit and nuts and such, like, we can't say it, we don't know. But no, the thing is that they covered this crime up. It's actually gone nuclear. Ed Davey should be stripped of his knighthood. Vince Cable, Sir Vince Cable, should be stripped of his knighthood. And just actually, folks, just before I came on air, I did pick up again, and I've been busy today, so I haven't seen everything. But apparently, when Sir Keir Starmer was DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, heading up the CPS, there were a small number of cases which the CPS prosecuted as well. But apparently, Jed, I'm sure that's going to surprise you, the CPS can't tell us if those small number of cases happened during the Keir Starmer years. That's a bit of luck, isn't it? They can't tell.
No, exactly. And Keir Starmer has questions to answer as well.
Yeah.
Not only over the post office scandal, but other scandals of keeping unwantables in this country using the Human Rights Act. Yeah. Acts, amongst other things. That man is seriously questionable. And I did put a picture up yesterday on my Facebook and my Twitter, reading, I'll paraphrase, that Eddie Izzard is the personification of a working class woman.
Yeah, I think, Jed, I think you need to watch that one, because I think that's a spoof. I think it comes from the.
I don't care, because the sentiment is true.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, you see, here's the thing. Look, the Conservatives are lousy. They're rotten. They're useless. They're not Conservatives. They're fake. But there's always a but. Labour is going to be so much worse. They're going to be so much worse. Hello there, Grand Mufti of Wakanda. Nice to see you coming along. So yeah, Labour's going to be worse, no doubt about it. I mean, when I hear about their economic plans and how they're going to provide, apparently, they're going to fix free dental care. You'll be delighted in this one. They're going to create 700,000 new appointments to see a dentist.
Oh.
They don't know. This is where Rishi Sunak has a point. Now, Sunak's going to lose the election. Everyone knows that. He just is, folks. You got to recognize that. But he does make. But it is reasonable when he says Labour are just making these promises, like you said, Jed. And the question is, how are they going to do it? And the answer is because they say they're going to do it. Hi, Jason. By the way, well, nice to see you.
The thing is, I keep hearing, particularly on vaccine radio, which I only listen to the clips now, or some clips on YouTube. In fact, let's put it this way. We used to always bow down, didn't we, to our almighty queen of all that is truth, all that is jabbed, and all that is on vacation, for our American friends, Julie Hartley-Brewer. Mm-hmm. God rest her soul. I actually caught up with one that was 2 months old today. That's how often I've watched it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's see, I've even lost my point now because I went on too much. God, it's been a long day, guys. I'm sorry. I do apologize. I was ranting so much. Oh no, Keir Starmer. And the point was, that's it, Keir Starmer. And they keep saying on vaccine radio, it's going to be a decade of Labour. I don't think it's going to be a decade of Labour. And the reason I don't think so is after 1 or 2 years of Labour, people will wake up and go, what the hell have we done? Allowing Labour to get in. But it's not so much letting Labour to get in, it's having nobody else to vote for, except for, guys, please use your protest vote to vote for reform. They're not going to get in. It's not going to change the result. It'll still be a Labour government. But what it will do is tell the Tories they are no longer Conservative in any shape or form. And then hopefully they can start weeding out all the Liberals and all the Socialists from the Conservative Party and actually turn into a Conservative Party.
Yeah. I see. Laura just says here, is he saying, referencing Jed, saying vaccine radio? Yeah, he is, Laura. What he's saying is that there's a radio station called, and TV station called Talk TV / Talk Radio, and our euphemism was vaccine radio. But remember, we're on YouTube, so we're
100% effective, David. Come on,
100%. It actually is 101% safe, I believe. And I, for one, I only wish I could have had about but a bit like Howard Stern, the US shock jock. I only wish I could have had so many of those jabs. But then he keeps catching the old COVID. So yeah, that's right, Jason. We're all triple jabbed, YouTube. Yeah, and we love those mRNA shots.
Only tripled. I've had 34 already.
Yeah, Jason, you're going
16 today.
Laura says it's 102% effective. Yeah. I think we all know what we're saying here, folks. But anyway, hey, Chet, I'll tell you what I wanted to. I'm just going to bring this one up. This wasn't planned, but I did see before earlier on there today, our good friend Jeff Buys Cars talking about the fact that I think I'm right in saying he said that BMW are actually going to close their Munich factory where they make combustion engine BMWs in 2027. So in 3 years time, they're closing their, and apparently Land Rover, Jaguar. And this is what I wanted to get to you on, because I was talking to my wife about this one. It seems to me that they're going to try and force us, some of us, into EVs. And the ones that they can't force into EVs, which probably the majority of us, they're going to make us walk. They're going to take us off the roads. That's what they want to do. I was hearing, Jed, about some of the UK-based car manufacturers saying that Rishi Sunak has given them targets, including BMW, from this year, 2024, and they must, Jed, sell, I think it's 24% of all new car sales this year have to be EVs, and that goes up to 80% by 2030. 80%.
2035 by 2030.
It's 80% by 2030, and it's 100% by 2035. So here's the thing, Jed. Doesn't matter, because ordinary people like us ain't buying them. The only people that are buying them is the corporations, the large businesses where there's tax breaks on them. So how do you see this one working, Jed? With there's BMW saying, right, we're shutting down essentially petrol and diesel car manufacturing, new car manufacturing from 2027. Jed.
Right. Well, first of all, if it was the future, I'll put this out. If this was the future of public, private transportation, then there would have to be no incentives. There were no incentives for people to buy the iPhone 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 15, whatever we're up to now. Yeah. There was no incentives for people to buy ULED TVs. Was there? There were no incentives in any. There was no tax breaks, no nothing. Why? Because it was technology that people wanted. But what they've had to do now is turn around and say, look, you will have these cars. Not only will we force the manufacturers to sell 20%, 25%, and all the way up to 80%.
Yeah.
But for every ICE car they sell, they'll have to pay a tax of £15,000.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's the killer, because the manufacturers can go, well, we can't sell them, so we're not going to make them. And watch the amount of manufacturers disappear, go bankrupt, because they can't sell the EV, and they've stopped manufacturing the ICE cars. So what do? If you can't sell the ones you're making, and you can't sell the ones that people want because you're not allowed to, or you get a penalty of £15,000 per car, then either the car goes up by £15,000.
Can't buy it.
Fine. Yeah. But if that happens, then it still puts it down to the price of the average Joe. So what's the average Joe going to do? He's going to keep hold of his car longer than he should. He's going to keep hold of a car that ends up being more pollutant than it was, and than if because a lot of people buy second-hand cars, don't they? And what they do, they'll have them for a couple of years, they'll save up, and they'll buy another second-hand car at equal sort of money, but it'll be a slightly newer model, so more refinement to it, so less polluting. And they just keep doing that, so that they're buying 2 or 3 or 4 year old technology, but each time they buy it, it's cleaner than the technology they had before. But now what we're going to get is people going, I can't afford to buy a second-hand car because second-hand prices are going to go through the roof. I can't afford to buy an ICE car because they've added another £15,000 on top. So I'm going to keep the car I've got, and it'll just get more and more run down, more and more polluting. And actually, in the end, they'll have to scrap it and get on the bus or get on the bike.
Well, that tax, Jed, you see the ICE tax, the internal combustion engine tax that you're talking about. I think that applies on all petrol and diesel cars that they sell above the target, so they've got to get, if their sales are 100%, right, roughly 25% of those sales this year have to be electric EVs. If they're not, then for every car sold over that, it's that's when the tax is that the right way of looking at it?
Well, yeah, they have to sell the 25%. So if they don't, so you only sell 20%, so 80% are ICE, then they're paying a tax on the 5% that they should have sold.
Yeah.
I think that's how it works. Now, when Rishi Sunak said to don't worry, we're moving the deadline from 2030 to 2035, you're absolutely right. He didn't move the other deadline of the manufacturers.
No,
that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
And absolutely, Gora Ram is right. The second-hand market. Well, let's just talk very briefly about the second-hand market. The second-hand market for EVs is non-existent. Your average resale in days for a second-hand electric vehicle is somewhere in excess of 120 days before it will resell, which is, I think I might be wrong, but I'm closer to the figures, but don't quote me on these figures. I might actually be a little bit out with my numbers. But for a petrol or diesel car, you're looking at something like 20 days or 30 days before it will resell, a second-hand petrol or diesel. So they're not selling. But the other issue is, and it's not just affecting now the EV market, is car insurance. Car insurance for EVs are skyrocketing. And the reason that it is skyrocketing is because the insurers are now realizing that if an electric car is involved in an accident, where before they might go, well, it's just about cost effective to repair it, so we'll repair it. But the second they suspect any damage to the battery, for example, the McMaster has his Porsche Taycan, £120,000 worth of car. It's now worth about £50,000 to replace his battery. If it was damaged, is £40,000. So even if his battery gets damaged, and that might be running over something on the road, a bit of debris on the road, and it dents the battery, that's £40,000 in an insurance claim, which is not worth doing the car for. But what's actually happening is not only are they putting the price up for EVs, and manufacturers will not insure them, or some insurers won't insure, but that additional cost is also being added to the ICE and diesel.
Well, listen, one of the reasons that you can't get insurance, you can't get home insurance on some of these EVs because the insurance companies have figured out if you're charging your car at home, Jed, let's say in the garage or whatever, God forbid, and there's a fire, they don't want to know about that.
That's right.
So my understanding is that some EV owners it's very difficult to get insurance at all. In fact, I think some people actually can't. But you have to have insurance to have it on the road. So it's just a mess, Jed. It's an absolute mess. You and I have talked about it in 23 and before that, and I think it's going to become more and more of an issue because people are going to waken up to what the governments are doing. That is taking away our access to the efficiencies of the combustion engine, which works perfectly well in petrol or diesel format, and that's the truth of the matter. So yeah. Anyway,
just one more point, David. Just remember, guys, these people who are evangelists for EVs, and who might not have a garage, but certainly have a little drive outside of the house. Remember, when, as David just said, when they get that charger on the wall, it's often by the front door. So they pull the car up, they plug the car in, and they go in. When that car sets on fire, how are they getting out of the house?
Don't know.
But they're certainly not going through the front door, are they?
No, it's a real health hazard. It's a mega health hazard. And you know, Jed, as you know, I was through Luton Airport, London Luton Airport, back last month in December. And on my way down to the train station to get to London, you pass where the car park was, where there was a fire, which apparently and allegedly came from a hybrid, and there was a battery, the electric battery set fire, and the whole blooming car park, 1,500 cars, as far as I understand, were damaged. And actually,
you're right. And they were trying to say that was a diesel, but it actually was a diesel hybrid.
That's it.
It started was within the hybrid battery.
Yeah, and it was, but the fire, Jed, was so great that the actual car park levels, I think there's about 3 stories, they collapsed because the heat coming out of an EV. That's why the fire brigade don't want to know it. They can't.
You see, now the fire brigade have trucks which are, like your drop trucks, where the back of the truck drops onto the road and then the truck can drive off. They now have them filled with water, and they drop the car in it, the EV in it, and leave it for days. But the other thing is that water is then contaminated. That water cannot go down the drains. So what happens with that water then?
I know it's all a mess. It's all a mess. But anyway, moving on. I want to shift things along a little bit. Jed, someone who's become a star on social media in the last week or so, again, since we were, is our good pal Joey Barton. Joey Barton, folks. Now, again, you American guys may not know Joey Barton. He was a UK sort of Premier League footballer, now retired. And if you check him out on Twitter/X, he has been, well, it's been very interesting what's happened, Joey Barton. Last week, he took issue and stated very bluntly, hi, Rustin, by the way, good to see you. He stated he had issues with female commentators commentating on male sport. He didn't think they understood the game. They hadn't played the male game, so they shouldn't talk. Here's Joey Barton. Here's Joey's Twitter. Do make sure you follow him. He's almost got 3 million. I think he has. He's got 3 million followers now. He's getting up towards it. So he's got a huge account on Twitter. But here's the point. Joey took issue with female commentators, and that was fine. So obviously, there's a bit of knockabout stuff on that there last week. And then what did he do? Well, what Joey Barton did was he did something which, when you're on YouTube, you're not allowed to do. But he did have issues concerning, the very special treatment that people got from 2021 on. And the minute he done that, he's now been targeted. The British government's looking at ways in which they can talk to the social media companies about him. I put out a podcast on this today because, back in 2020, in fact, as Laura was talking about, back in 2020, I believe I was taken off Twitter along with Katie Hopkins and a few others because we were being quite noisy in our objections to masks and all that. There's a podcast. It's all in there. You're the public enemy. And we were taken off because we were vocal critics of the government policy. However, in my case, they used the pretext of he said hurty words about Marcus Rashford. And we had people like Gary Lineker and Owen Jones and all these celebs suddenly magically descended upon my head and got me taken off Twitter 1.0. Obviously, that changed when I came back in late end of 2022. And now, Jed, I think what they're going to try and do is they're going to say, "Oh, Joey," they'll not mention, the medical interventions. I'm using my words carefully here because we're on YouTube, so I'm sorry if it's euphemisms, but it has to be, or they will strike us. He's criticized them. So, and as Rustin says, he's saying what we all think. And they're going to come for Joey Barton, not under the guise of he criticized female sports commentators. He's sexist. We mustn't ever allow that. And actually, Jed, the final thing in this one, I'll turn over to you now. But where Joey Barton really impressed me was he initially compared these two ladies who commentate on the football to Fred and Rose West, right? And ITV
wrong.
ITV Sports said this is outrageous and an awful thing to say. And then what did he do? And this was the bit that impressed me more than anything else. He put out a tweet saying, "I've had time to think about it. I do understand the problem that I've caused. On reflection, they're more like Stalin and Pol Pot."
Yeah, no, that's it.
I loved it.
As we've always said, haven't we, David? Never apologize for what you say, and I've always said, never regret anything that you do.
No,
you cannot live your life full of regrets.
No.
And I'll tell you a little anecdote about regrets in a moment. But I didn't know Joey Barton. I don't do football, okay? And I saw your Twitter exploding with Joey Barton this and Joey Barton that. And,
yeah.
And I said to you, didn't I, when we spoke last, a couple of days ago, and I said, "Who is Joey Barton?" And you explained to me, and I said, "Well, he's all over your timeline." Yeah. So, but because I do catch, because I work now throughout the day, guys, if you don't know. So, but I did catch, news bits and what have you about what he'd said. And the fact that he then came back with that, "I'm sorry, I've had time to reflect, blah, blah, blah."
It's great.
And I went, he is the man. We have to have him on this show. He is the guy. Because that was absolutely brilliant. Because one, guys, never, ever, ever apologize for anything you've said if somebody says, "I'm offended."
Yeah.
consistently never have regrets. Now, just said I'll give you a quick anecdote about that. You all know I was very ill on New Year's Day. I go in the ambulance, and it was 2 ex-squaddies in the ambulance. So we were chatting a bit of pulling up the sandbag as we were on our way to A&E. Well, I was trying to talk as best I could. And because I used to be a smoker, as you all know, guys, and I stopped about 10, 12 years ago now, he said, do you regret smoking? And I said, no, I have no regrets, because every single thing I have ever done in my life has led me right here tonight, talking to you guys, you wonderful guys and girls, and David. It's led me here. If anything of that had changed or been different, I may not be here tonight in the guise that I am in. So I regret nothing. I cannot live my life with regrets. I will not go to my grave with a regret.
Yeah, absolutely right, Jed. That's exactly the right attitude. Je ne regrette rien. We shouldn't regret. We can learn, we can accept we made mistakes, all of that there. That's all fine. But the truth of the matter is that, you know, I mean, as I said in that podcast today, I don't regret the comments I made about Marcus Rashford. They were good questions. I stand over them. The fact of the matter is, though, that our corrupt mainstream media doesn't like it when there are disruptors. And that applied to Katie Hopkins and myself. And they don't like it when Joey Barton does it. But what I admire about Joey Barton, and I have to watch what I say now because I'm mindful of libel laws. But I mean, Joey has deep pockets, or so he says he has. So he said a few things about people like Jeremy Vine, the highly litigious Jeremy Vine.
I thought was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. We're not going to repeat them though, but they were brilliant. And again, this is where, and someone mentioned Tommy Robinson, and Jed, this is I'll put this point to you. I love the fact that when we get, if you like, people from working class backgrounds like Tommy Robinson. Now, I don't agree with everything Tommy Robinson says and does, but he speaks to a working class person. And Joey Barton is exactly the same. He speaks to that ordinary, just the ordinary man and woman, you know, and I love that they can have that, but because they make that connection. I mean, I speak a wee bit differently, so I know that my vocabulary is not exactly the same as theirs, but there's space for us all. And ultimately,
the accent is also not the same, David, is it?
That's true enough. Yeah. I mean, I can't understand Joey Barton, but apart from that, the thing is that they fear these blokes, Jed. And it's mostly, I mean, it's not just blokes, but Joey and the likes of Tommy, you know, they make
to name another
Matt and these guys, they make a connection that scares the bejeebers out of the establishment. The establishment love Gary Lineker. They love Phil Neville, footballing names that some of you know. They love them. Oh, they're brilliant. But when these blokes like Matt and Joey come along, oh no, they're Nazis. You know what I mean? So I mean,
right, but what we've got, though, David, if you think about it, we've got these guys like Matt Letizia, like Joey Barton, just to name two, but there are many more. Obviously Tommy Robinson, etc. And the thing is, these are the people that you used to see down the pub, you know, Friday, Saturday night, maybe Sunday afternoon. And not that I've ever done this, but Sunday afternoon, while your wife's at home getting the Sunday roast ready, you can pop down with the boys, you know, for a game of pool or game of snooker and a couple of beers. And the thing is, we don't have that now. Our public square used to be the pub. Our public square now is things like Twitter.
Yeah.
So that's where you have these debates and these discussions, and you say what you feel and what you believe to be true. And it's not your truth and my truth. There's only one truth. And you speak it. It's you. It's you telling the world what you feel, what you believe. And that used to happen in the pub, but it now happens on Twitter. And exactly what did the government say after hearing Joey Barton say women cannot commentate on Premier League male football because they've never played it? How many times has the left said to us, you can't understand how a black person is because you're not black? You can't understand a trans person because you're not trans. You can't understand a disabled person because you're not disabled person. Yet, when we get women talking about the men's game who clearly don't know what they're talking about, and I don't get me wrong, guys, I know nothing about football. I might be able to explain the offside rule, but might not.
Really? Jed, tell us what the offside rule is then, Jed, if you think you might be able to.
You think I could? And when the ball is kicked, there must be an opposing play between you and the goal when the ball is kicked.
You sure about that?
Something like that.
Let's get this fact checked live here.
Anyway, but the point is, this is now the public square for the Globe.
Yeah.
But the pubs used to be the public square, used to be the Connie clubs, the Labour clubs, so on and so forth. So it is the public square. And if they come to close him down, I'm telling you now, Elon Musk will not have it. Elon Musk, if they threaten him, he will pull out of the UK.
Well, I think the British government probably, depending which way Joey goes, and as I say, folks, if you follow his Twitter, like he's taken no prisoners. He is being as blunt as I ever was, more so probably. But he's making that connection. You can feel it. He connects to ordinary people who see all through all the woke stuff, because Joey's tackled so many topics. He's talked about the woke stuff. He's talked about the gender stuff. He's talked about, Islam. He's tackled a whole range of issues. And all he's done is he's just come out and said in unambiguous terms what he believes. And he should be allowed that right. But apparently that's danger. According to the British government sports minister, that's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Well, it is dangerous because they lose control of the narrative.
That's what they mean, yeah.
That's why it's dangerous. It's dangerous to them, not the public, because actually, my speech, my thoughts, and my beliefs do not stop at your hurty feelings.
No.
And I really don't. The thing is, I think what Joey's done, and it seems to be an explosion at the moment of Joey Martin.
It is.
What he's done, he spoke out once and he's seen the backlash that people like you, me, and all the good folks listening tonight have been putting up with for 10 more years, but particularly in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And he's seen the backlash and he's gone, well, hang on. No, this is wrong. And he's now gone on what we call belt fed. So all the ex-squaddies will know what I meant. He's now on belt fed with what he thinks is right and what he thinks is wrong. And so belt fed is a belt fed machine gun. Yeah. And it just fires thousands of rounds per second. And that's what he's doing. He's firing these off now, all these comments and statements and his beliefs. And knocking everybody out the park with it. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
This is why they're terrified.
It's been wonderful to see. Now, I want to move on a wee bit. So we've tackled Joey Barton. We'll maybe return to that particular topic tomorrow evening. Jed, there's another story. Well, a couple of different stories that I've seen. But seeing as how we have American folks on, there's 2 things that came out of the States in the past 24 hours that struck on my attention. One funny, one not funny. The funny one was NASA cancelling the return to the moon. I think maybe we'll keep that one for tomorrow night, Jed. How do you return?
How can you return if you haven't been?
How do you do that? I don't know how that works.
I don't know.
And also, but it's okay, Jed, it's the technology. Apparently, they can't quite get the technology to work in 2024 that they
But they could in 1969.
69, yeah. And that makes sense to me, doesn't it? Because if you look at a car, if you took a car from 1969 and compared that to any car from today, the difference in technology in those cars is incredible. Technologies come on. Jason says here, NASA have forgotten how to fly. Surely you mean, Jason, NASA have forgotten how to lie. But anyway,
I like that one.
We will save this for tomorrow night because it does trigger our good friend, the City Troll. So we'll talk about the Artemis alleged space program and what they can do and what they can't do. But here's the more serious story, and kind of quite shocking, basically. And this is to do with the Grand Mufti of Wakanda doesn't agree. How dare you, David Vance, suggest that the moon landings were staged? Let me just repeat, they were staged. Now, moving on. I saw this in New York, and I saw that apparently a school, Jed, some school in Grand Mufti is being...
I'll bring that up there because I know you like to come back at comments like this.
Yeah, Grand Mufti. Well, you're welcome to think that, but I mean, being able to spell disappointing might be quite good if you're wanting to talk to me. You know what I mean? Might be an issue there for you, pal. Second, so this school in New York They took the kids out of the school, Jed, so they could bus in, they could accommodate migrants that were being bussed in from, kind of come up through the southern border. And the scary thing here is, and American folks probably, we might get it as well, and the Irish people might get it as well. I think there's a real danger that the globalists will, as they continue to bring all these people in, Jed, and there's not the requisite accommodation for them. Could we end up being told, hey, Jed, we see you've got a spare bedroom, so we've allocated, a couple of them to you.
That will come.
And I think this is exactly what could happen. And I think that's what we're sort of seeing. And actually, Elon Musk basically said this himself on X/Twitter today, that this is where this is leading. And I think it is as well. So I think it's incredible that kids are being booted out of school, Jed, so that the migrants can be put up there. And it's shocking. Oh, by the way, Republican Rocker, yes, I have mentioned the tunnels. I know some people don't like the tunnels. Certain folks don't want to commentate on the tunnels, but I'm very curious about so many things and those strange tunnels. But anyway, don't want to get distracted into that. So, Jed, what do you think then about this, booting the kids out of school so the migrants can be put up in the schools?
Well, it just falls in line, doesn't it, that the indigenous peoples of the land, whether it be here in the UK, excuse me, excuse me, gentlemen, ladies and gents, whether it be the school kids here or the school kids in the US or wherever it might be, we are the second-class citizens. The new occupiers of the land are the ones that get the bounty and the fruit of that land. They get the 5-star hotels, they get people kicked out of here so they can move in there, etc., because they are the new element. We are the old. We're the excuse me. We are the dinosaurs, and these are the new etchlings. Are the new, and the point is, David, that actually I'm seeing more and more. We know we talk about ESG and the scoring for ESG.
Yes.
More and more that actually that is now collapsing. That people like BlackRock and whatever are pulling out of the ESG. It's actually showing now that they're losing money, and the fact, and money talks, irrelevant of how rich you may very well be. In the end, if you are rich because you've invested well and you've looked after your money. If you then start to throw money at a project or an ideology, which this is what this has all been led by, it's all led by an ideology, that in the end you start thinking, well, can I keep throwing billions of dollars at this? I can't, because if I do, I will run out of billions of dollars, and it's taking me 20, 30, 40, 50 years to get these billions of dollars, and I'm just throwing them away. Yeah, so but I see we're at a turning point now. And you speak to people. I've seen things like Calvin Robinson talking about this as well on Twitter, where this ESG and diversity and equity and all that sort of stuff is beginning to turn a corner. We're beginning to win it slowly. Remember, it's taken 40 years to get to here. So it's going to take us 40 or more years to get it back to.
Yeah, but what about the migrants? But the point is, back to the migrants, Jed, back on topic. Migrants in schools, kids booted out of schools, migrants conceivably in our houses. We saw, Jed, a story, as you know, the Bibby Stockholm barge that we have, where they have got some migrants on it. I saw one migrant committed suicide. Now I'm sad about that, and I'm sorry to.
Remember, suicide is painless.
Well, I don't know.
Many changes.
Not sure about that, but the thing is,
sorry, that was mash.
It's kind of tragic if you're affected, and I know people who have lost loved ones to suicide. What I'm saying is, though, if these migrants are so unhappy about the accommodation provided in the UK, here's a top tip. Don't come. Stay away. Stay where you are. Stay in France. Stay outside of our sovereign territory. But then to come here, Jed, and to bitch and complain about, oh, my hotel room's not to the standard I require. Oh, I find this barge.
Yeah, but they're a shithole country. There's no one near the standard that we're giving them.
What
Sorry,
France?
I mean, it's a family show, but you know, sometimes I've just got to say it as it is, David. And you know me, I'll apologise to anybody that was. Well, no, I won't apologise if you're offended by that, because they are coming from exactly what Donald Trump said. Yeah, I'll answer this question from Gallo in a second. But the thing is, we are now receiving migrants from 140 different countries. As far as I'm aware, at the moment, I think there are 2 wars on this planet. One in Israel and Gaza, and one in Russia and Ukraine. So that would be 4 countries. Let's call 4 countries where potentially you could have refugees coming from. So where's the 136 other countries? Why are them people coming? They're coming because it's not refugees. They're coming for a better life, because particularly the UK and particularly the US give them what they want. And when they've been sold on TikTok, oh, look, I stopped in a 5-star hotel. Look, you come here. You get a 5-star hotel. You get a mobile phone. You get 3 squares a day. You get 40 quid in your pocket. You get all the fags that you want. And now they turn up and they end up in a military camp, or they end up on the Stocky.
The baby stock. Yeah.
And they go, hang on, whoa. On TikTok told me I was going to get a 5-star hotel. And that's what they're upset about. It's not the conditions. It's because it's not what TikTok said they were going to get. And
just to go back to Gallo, just explain ESG.
Yes. So Gallo, ESG is equality or equity, social governance. And it's a score that companies get by doing the diversity and inclusion programs and putting, black people or disabled people or trans people on the board and things like that. They get a score by the ESG, and the higher score they get, the better investments they get from BlackRock and people like that. If they don't do it, they get no investments.
And that explains why, for example, the UK is a country that is, just roughly speaking, around about 85% white people, roughly. In places like Northern Ireland, it's about 96%. Scotland, it's about 95%. Wales, it's 98%, right? But Jed, if you were basing what you thought the UK was like based on the TV ads that you see so often, you would imagine, oh, that's the UK is a majority black country. Do you know what I mean? And the reason for that, it is to do with this equality,
equity and diversity.
Equity and all that. Yeah. It's being driven by essentially BlackRock and Vanguard, these large financial organizations, which are themselves Ponzi schemes, I reckon. But anyway, that's what's driving it. And so when people sort of watch their TV, you see a lot of people saying, this isn't why is this happening? If you went to Nigeria, I can assure you wouldn't see lots of white people in ads and TV. Why would you? Because it's not a very large white population there. But the UK and parts of the UK, it's very, very white. But TV doesn't reflect that. That's why, isn't it?
Well, that's it. I mean, look at the debate that's been happening today, that 4 new directors of Channel 4 have been appointed. 5. 5, Four of them are white, and 1 is of an ethnic minority. And there was a debate on Vaccine Radio about it, and that's how I heard about it. And basically, they had a black guy who was obviously a race baiter, allegedly. And then they had the conservative commentator, a black guy. He's not always my flavor of the month, but sometimes he does come out with some decent stuff. I can't think of his name, a young lad. He is a Conservative Party member or something like that. And basically he was saying, well, no, we should have. And this is where, for example, Boeing at the minute, they had to ground all the planes, didn't they? Because the doors But they spend their life telling us how good they are with their diversity and inclusion and hiring, ethnic minorities, what have you. Yet we're having doors blow out at 30,000 feet or 40,000 feet, and they're having to do an emergency descent.
Yeah.
Either you hire people because they are competent in the job, irrelevant to skin color, or you hire people based on skin color or sexual orientation. But what you can't have is a competent job if you're going, well, the first priority must be their ethnicity, their sex, whatever it might be. Yep. Competency. Yeah, must be the overriding factor. Can that person do the job? Yes, they can. No, the second quality might be, are they black, white, or woman? Yeah.
Why would that even matter?
At the moment, that's the first choice.
But it shouldn't even be a criteria at all.
Well, no, it shouldn't, David. But at the moment, it's the only criteria. So we're going to have planes falling out the sky, and people are going to go, why? And it's because people like Boeing, and not just Boeing, the other airlines are doing the same, are hiring based on this ESG that we spoke about before. That
but if listen,
come back and said thank you for explaining it. And that's what they're hiring on at the moment. And that is the problem that we've got in the boardroom, whether it's Boeing, whether it's electronics companies, whether it's British Rail, or even the post office, as we started this hour section. Okay, we're hiring based on immutable characteristics and not competency. That's what we're hiring.
Well, you see, I don't know about you or the people watching this, but if I'm at 35,000 feet, I don't want the aircraft to have been assembled by diversity hires. I want it to have been assembled by professional, highly qualified individuals who know how to, for example, fix a door so that it doesn't come off.
Well, I'm going to go one further. I'm going to go back, I don't know, 20 years, maybe more. I might be wrong. And go back to Chernobyl. Now, if you've watched the documentary on Chernobyl by Sky, Now, I didn't watch it until it was free on Netflix because I weren't paying for it because I'm a tight northerner. But the bottom line is they had people in that control room there because they were party members, not because they knew about nuclear power, nuclear reactors. And so that is what was happening in Ukraine at the time. All we've done is swap party membership for color or gender.
Yeah,
that's what we've done. And we will have some severe disasters, and they will not admit it will be based on ESG rather than competencies.
Yeah, it is very troublesome, the fact that basically what's happened with the radical left is they've inverted Martin Luther King's idea that we should all be colorblind. It's not the color of your skin that matters. It's the nature of your character is the key thing. And equally important, how competent you are to do your job. Neil Christie did put up that interesting stat that Nigeria recently made it illegal to use white actors and models in advertising. Could you imagine if that happened in the UK, if we decided...
in a way, we've had that there, because now we're having where they say, well, the actor must be of the ethnicity of the character that they're playing, or the ability of the character, or the gender of the character.
That's right.
Unless it's an ethnic minority, then they can play people like Shakespeare. Yeah. Oh, sorry, David. Sorry. They can play people like Shakespeare, or they can play the Doctor, or they can play other characters in British history which are white. They can play. Yet, if a white actor went to play a black character or a disabled character, and we've had it recently in a film where an actor played, and the film I'm thinking about is the guy who's just died, Stephen Hawkins. A white actor, non-disabled, played his character, and they were up in arms, weren't they? That he was not disabled.
It's stupid.
It doesn't work the other way when black actors want to do that, or Asian actors want to do that. Yeah, they can play whatever characters they like.
Well, look, as I said, we've come to the end of our allocated time, folks. It always passes very, very quickly. We never get through half the topics, but that doesn't matter. We will be back, Jed, myself, and others in the studio tomorrow evening. So if you want to come along for that, we'll be chatting about more stuff. And next Monday night, my special guest will be Mr. David Scott, formerly of UK Column. So David's coming along to have a chat.
Brilliant last time.
David was very good. Yeah, well, I think again, David's going out and sort of starting his own thing. So I want to support David as well. So I hope you'll tune in next Monday night at 8 o'clock to the live show then. But we do have a live podcast going out tomorrow night, so you're very welcome to tune into that as well. I don't know, Jed, if you have anything that you want to play out.
I don't, David. Unfortunately, I've had an extremely busy day today, so I do apologize. I haven't finished on a funny. But if you could talk for about 30 seconds, I might find something to talk for 30 seconds.
Yeah, can I talk for 30 seconds? I'm sure I can.
I'm sure you can fill for a little bit.
I can fill for a few seconds. Yeah. So folks, those are a couple of dates for your diary. So tomorrow night we do at 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. EST. Next Monday night, again, similar times with David Scott from UK Column. We've got some other great people lined up beyond that. I'll talk to you about. I've told you that the 1st of March is a date that you want to ring in your diary. London, 1st of March, come and meet our special guest and myself. Laura, thank you very much for your kind words. And I don't know, Jed, I think I'm finished filling in now. So
right, yeah, I found something, David. I don't know what it is because obviously I've not had a chance to watch it. But can I just say,
right,
for the show tomorrow night, guys, please, you'll find a better experience getting the Podbean app and joining us in the studio, because we do welcome you to join in and call the show and have your say and have a point or raise your point or ask a question of the panel. So please try and get the app, podbean.com. Get it on your phone, iOS or Android. Search for David, the David Vance podcast. And join us literally in the studio. We'd love to hear your points and what have you.
Yeah, you can, as Jed says, you can come in. If you come in through Podbean, just go to the App Store, download the Podbean app, and then you have it in your phone. And then if you want tomorrow night, you can come in, you can chat to Jed, myself, the other folks, and you can have your say with us. So as Jed says, it's the best way to have the best experience on this particular strange little show that we do. We're the only people who do we do stream a podcast, and people seem to like it. So yeah, Rustin says Podbean is worth it. I think it's free. I don't think it costs you anything. You just have to download.
No, it's free, guys. You just have to then download it, create yourself a little account, and then when we go live, join the show. You can listen to it.
Join us,
you just hit the call-in button. David will let you in. You can ask your question or raise your point. And join in the conversation. That's what we want. We want to hear what you have to say too. We always get brilliant comments, but it's also nice to hear those voices. I know Gara Raman's been on a few times. Leslie B has been on once. We'd love her to come back. There's been a couple of American friends that have come on, had their say, particularly on American topics. So it's really.
It's a very lively. It's like an hour and a half.
It's an hour and a half as well. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's as long as a football match. That's as long as Joey Barton's played a football match. And yet, there we go. That's what we do tomorrow night. So, Jed, I think you want to play out in this one, and I will wish everybody all the best. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. See you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, over on Podbean and on Twitter and Getter as well, I guess, or wherever. But if you want to play out with this one, Jed, that's it from us, folks.
Thank you, David. As always, guys, we talk about serious topics. I haven't watched this video, so I do apologize, David. If there's any swearing, I'm really sorry. All right, I don't. It was just one I grabbed from my arsenal of little clips.
Okay.
Have a laugh, guys. Life is too short to always be serious. Catch you tomorrow. Good night and God bless.
Women went on strike today in Iceland to demand gender equality. The entire population is 370,000. So over 25% of the population went on strike. And I have some crazy news for you. The economy did not come to a stop, and it continued as normal. The only memo I got was that HR departments were getting no complaints for the 24 hours that the women were on strike. And men were writing that they were really sorry women didn't get gender equality. But I heard one CEO said it was nice to finally get some shit done, end quote.